The neuroscience of attraction. What makes a mind irresistible?
Have you ever met someone who isn't conventionally attractive, but there's something about them you can't explain? It's not how they look, it's how they think.
Exactly. Their presence feels magnetic, like their mind is pulling you in. You're not falling for a face, you're falling for a frequency.
And that, John, has a name: sapiosexual appeal, the attraction to intelligence, depth, and emotional insight. Today, we're decoding why smart minds are irresistible and how this connects to both psychology and the way you express yourself in English.
We'll also bring in Carl Jung's view of attraction, that what fascinates us in others might actually be a reflection of our own unconscious. And at the end, we'll have a mini English lesson with the key vocabulary that captures these psychological nuances.
Welcome to the Neurofluency podcast, where psychology, neuroscience, and language connect to reveal how your brain speaks the language of attraction.
I'm John, linguist and researcher.
And I'm Mary, researcher and storyteller. Together, we explore how thoughts, emotions, and words shape the way we connect and desire.
Stay with us as we uncover how intelligence, empathy, and curiosity create invisible magnetic fields between minds.
Because true attraction isn't found in the mirror. It's written in the language of the mind.
So stay with us. You might discover that your most attractive trait has nothing to do with your looks and everything to do with your mind.
The concept. Before we talk about beauty, let's talk about the one kind we often forget: the beauty of the mind. There's a word that has become popular lately: sapiosexual appeal. It describes that magnetic pull we feel toward intelligence, not just IQ, but intellect that feels alive.
And it's no coincidence that this idea has grown in an age of distraction. While appearances flood our screens, the world quietly craves depth. Psychology shows that attraction to intelligence isn't only admiration. It's an instinctive signal that says, here's someone I can grow with.
Exactly. When the brain senses intellectual stimulation, curiosity, humor, insight, dopamine lights the reward centers just as strongly as physical attraction. The mind recognizes potential, emotional, cognitive, even spiritual.
But there's something deeper beneath that recognition. Carl Jung believed that what we find attractive in others often mirrors an unexpressed potential within ourselves. We're not just drawn to another person's intelligence, we're responding to our own, calling for expression.
Jung saw this through the concept of projection. Each of us carries parts of the psyche that remain unseen, qualities we've repressed, denied, or simply never noticed. When we meet someone who embodies them, our unconscious lights up, whispering, "That's me in another form."
He also described this through the anima and animus, the inner feminine within every man and the inner masculine within every woman. These archetypes shape what we seek in others. They're psychological magnets guiding attraction toward balance and wholeness.
So when you're drawn to someone's curiosity, it might be your own curiosity asking to be expressed. When you admire someone's calm confidence, it could be the steadiness your mind longs to embody.
Attraction, then, isn't random, it's revelatory. It's the psyche showing us through another person who we are still becoming.
So, what makes a mind attractive? It's not just intelligence. It's awareness, depth, and the reflection of growth waiting inside us.
And that's what we'll explore next: how the brain translates that recognition into chemistry and emotion, and why we feel instantly connected to certain minds.
The 7 signs of an attractive mind.
1. Curiosity, the spark of connection. Have you noticed that the most captivating people aren't the ones who talk the most? They're the ones who ask better questions.
Exactly. True attraction starts with curiosity, not with answers. It's not about showing what you know, it's about showing what you want to know.
Curiosity makes people feel interesting because you're genuinely interested. It's the psychology of presence. When you give your full attention, people open up.
In English, we say to wonder about someone, meaning to be genuinely curious. You can say, I wonder about what makes people tick. That phrase alone reveals depth.
You know that friend who always asks, "Why do you think that?" instead of "You're wrong." That's curiosity, and it's magnetic.
2. Intellectual humility, the courage to say, I don't know. Here's something counterintuitive. One of the most attractive sentences in English is simply, I don't know.
It sounds simple, but it shows awareness and confidence. People who admit they don't know something are safe to be around. They create authentic space.
It's psychological humility, the ability to recognize your limits without shame. That makes people trust you.
In English, the verbs are to admit, to learn from, to keep learning. Try saying, I admit I don't have all the answers, but I'm willing to learn. That's emotional honesty in action.
I once worked with a leader who said that every morning. He was respected not for knowing everything, but for never pretending to.
3. Wonder in the ordinary. Everyday magic. You know those people who find beauty in the smallest things, like sunlight through a window or the sound of rain on glass?
Yes, that's one of the purest signs of an attractive mind. They see magic where others see routine.
It's mindfulness in motion, attention turned into appreciation.
We use the verbs to notice and to appreciate. For example, I appreciate the little things. It's simple English, but it expresses deep emotional intelligence.
When someone says that and really means it, you can feel it. It's not poetic, it's present.
4. Openness to change, the art of evolving. Here's another one. Attractive minds don't need to be right, they need to grow.
That's beautiful. Being able to say, I see it differently now, shows confidence, not weakness. Psychologists call it cognitive flexibility.
In English, we say to shift perspective or to reconsider. Try saying, I've changed my mind after hearing your point. That phrase is emotional maturity in one sentence.
I remember a debate where someone said that and suddenly the entire tone of the conversation softened. Openness dissolves ego.
5. Listening skills, the gift of silence. In a world full of noise, people who really listen stand out. Deep listening is one of the rarest forms of attraction.
Yes, it's emotional seduction through attention. Research shows that being heard activates the same areas of the brain as feeling loved.
In English, we say to make someone feel heard. That's the secret. You don't just listen to reply, you listen to understand.
Think of that one friend who remembers the details you forgot you told them. That's listening, and it feels like emotional gravity.
6. Effortless conversation, the dance of minds. There's a special kind of connection that happens when words just flow. No performance, no pressure, just presence.
Psychologists call it intellectual intimacy. When ideas, laughter, and silence coexist comfortably, that's attraction beyond appearance.
In English, we use to engage or to connect over ideas. Example, we connected over music and philosophy. That's more than conversation, it's chemistry.
You can tell when it happens. The coffee gets cold, but nobody notices.
7. Cognitive flexibility, the freedom to see through others' eyes. That's cognitive flexibility in action.
It's being able to say, I understand where you're coming from, even if you disagree. It's the essence of empathy.
Here we say to adapt or to see through someone's eyes. It's a language of compassion.
Imagine a conversation where instead of arguing, someone says, help me understand your side. That's emotional intelligence, and it's instantly attractive.
So, curiosity, humility, wonder, openness, listening, flow, and flexibility. 7 invisible traits that make the mind magnetic.
But here's the question that psychology and Jung would ask. What if what you find so attractive in others is actually a reflection of yourself?
Let's explore that in the next block. Carl Jung's insight into the mirror of the mind and how attraction might be your unconscious speaking. Jung's insight,
the mirror of the mind.
Have you ever noticed how sometimes we're drawn to people who seem to complete us in some way? It's like they awaken a part of us we didn't even know existed.
Exactly, and that's where Carl Jung's perspective becomes fascinating. He believed that attraction isn't just about chemistry, it's psychological recognition. What we find captivating in someone else often mirrors a part of ourselves we haven't yet claimed.
That's beautiful. Jung said, quote, "What we love in others is often the part of ourselves we haven't owned yet." So maybe when you're drawn to someone's confidence, creativity, or calmness, it's your own potential asking to come alive.
And that brings us to one of Jung's most powerful concepts, the shadow. It's not something dark or negative, it's simply the hidden side of who we are. Attraction can sometimes reveal these repressed strengths, qualities we admire but haven't yet expressed.
So when you say, "I wish I were like that person," you might be closer to that quality than you think. Your admiration is your intuition whispering, "That's you, waiting to be seen."
Exactly. That's why deep connection, whether intellectual or emotional, is never just about the other person. It's an invitation to self-integration. You don't just meet another mind, you meet a reflection of your own.
Or as Jung wrote, quote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed." Attraction, then, isn't just desire, it's transformation.
Interesting. So the more we understand what draws us to others, the more we understand ourselves.
Exactly. And now that we've looked into the mirror of the mind, let's see what we've learned in English in this fascinating episode. Because every insight you gain in psychology becomes a new phrase in your emotional vocabulary.
Now let's see a mini English lesson. What we learned in this episode.
All right, we've talked about the psychology of mental attraction. Now let's learn how to speak it in English. Because every insight we shared today can also become a powerful linguistic tool.
Exactly. This is your neurofluency moment, where English meets emotion. Let's unpack the key expressions, grammar patterns, and subtle meanings behind them.
1. Curiosity. To be curious about. In English, we don't say "I'm curious of" or "curious for." The correct structure is to be curious about plus noun or verb with ing. Example, I'm curious about human behavior. I'm curious about learning new things.
Notice how about connects curiosity to the object of your interest. It opens a mental door. So grammatically, curious always pairs with about when it's followed by something you want to
Try
explore.
using this in self-reflection. I'm curious about what really motivates me. That's English and emotional intelligence working together.
2. Intellectual humility. To admit and to keep learning.
Now, let's talk about humility. In English, we use the verb to admit when we acknowledge something true, even if it's uncomfortable. Example, I admit I don't know everything. She admitted she made a mistake.
After admit, you can use either a noun, admit a mistake, or a clause, admit that you were wrong. It's one of those verbs that signal honesty and vulnerability. And that's why it sounds authentic.
In communication, admitting uncertainty creates trust. In learning English, it creates progress.
We also say to keep learning. 3. Wonder in the ordinary. To notice and to appreciate.
These two verbs are small, but they change everything. To notice means to perceive something that is there. To appreciate means to value something that others might ignore. Example, I noticed how calm she was during the meeting. I really appreciate your attention to detail.
Notice takes a direct object. Notice something. Appreciate can take something or someone for something. Example, I appreciate you for listening. And psychologically, people who notice and appreciate create connection and gratitude. That's the language of emotional awareness.
integration review, bringing it all together. So today you learned how to be curious about new ideas, admit your limits and keep learning, notice and appreciate what others miss, shift perspective when things change, make someone feel heard, and see through someone's eyes.
And each of these expressions describes a behavior that makes you more emotionally intelligent and more fluent in every sense.
Because the truth is, grammar without empathy is just memorization. But grammar with self-awareness becomes transformation.
So here's your challenge, dear listener. This week, choose one of these expressions and live it. Don't just study English, feel it in your daily conversations.
And in our next segment, we'll show you how to use these phrases naturally in real-life dialogues that sound confident, clear, and connected.
Because in neurofluency, every word you learn rewires your mind, and every phrase you master makes your communication more human.
So maybe your most attractive trait isn't your face, your voice, or even your confidence. Maybe it's your awareness, the way you think, the way you listen, the way you make others feel seen and heard.
Today, we discovered that mental attraction isn't about intelligence alone. It's about curiosity, humility, openness, and empathy. Qualities that shape how you connect, not just how you communicate.
And perhaps the greatest secret is this. Every time you learn a new word in English, you also discover a new layer of yourself. Because language isn't just a tool, it's a mirror for consciousness.
That's the real meaning of neurofluency. You don't just speak English, you think, feel, and evolve through it.
So the next time you feel drawn to someone's mind, remember this. You're not just admiring them, you're recognizing a part of yourself that's waking up.
Which of the 7 signs of an attractive mind do you recognize most in yourself? And which English phrase from today's lesson do you want to embody this week? Not just say, but live.
If this episode made you think deeper or feel seen, follow us here on Neurofluency, English of the Mind, where psychology becomes your language teacher and every new word becomes a step toward self-awareness.
And in our next episode, we'll explore how emotions shape pronunciation, why the way you feel actually changes the way you sound. Trust me, you won't listen to your own voice the same way again.
Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, your most beautiful accent is authenticity.